Welcome to Film Strip. These podcasts are spoiler-filled as we discuss the plots, characters, and themes of the films in review. All content used or discussed in these podcast episodes is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504, C2, Title 17.
Welcome to Film Strip. I'm Jay.
I'm Ron.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Lindsay.
And we're here to talk about Murder on the Orient Express, starring Albert Finney, Lauren Bacall, Martin Balsam, Ingrid Bergman, Jacqueline Bisset, Jean-Pierre Cassel, Sean Connery, John Gielgud, Wendy Hiller, Anthony Perkins, Vanessa Redgrave, Rachel Roberts, Richard Widmark, Michael York, Colin Blakely, Georgie Colioris, and Dennis Quilley. Based on the 1934 novel by Agatha Christie and directed by Sidney Lumet, released in 1974, big box office hit, nominated for many, many awards. And we're here at the end of our January Ensemble Mystery Series with, if not the movie that started it all, maybe the story that did. So I'm going to go around the horn here. Like, how many people have actually read the origin story book? Ron, Linz, Ryan, any of y'all read this before?
I have not.
I have not either, but having seen the movie, and now I kind of want to go do a Agatha Christie deep dive now that we're in Frozen Hell cold season.
Yeah, same.
I actually have.
Oh, nice.
This was the book that actually made me enjoy murder mysteries or reading in general. Really quick story. It was on my list of summer reading as a kid, and I just grabbed it and I wasn't really interested in it. And then I got halfway through and I remember distinctly, I was at my grandparents' house and I was with a bunch of my family for the summer, and I knew they were going to get mad at me if they caught me reading after a certain hour. So if I heard an adult move, I would turn off my light and I would kind of like low-key hide. And when I knew they were back in bed, I would turn the light on and continue reading.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I had not read this either, but I'm with you, Ron. I'm kind of in that mode where I'm like, ooh, maybe I should go and grab that or whatever. I'm currently piling my way through a biography of Chester A. Arthur and the Stephen King book 11/22/63 because Matt Spalding told me I needed to read that before I watched the miniseries. So where I'm working through that, but I may have to add this to it. But I was familiar with this movie though, because as I've talked about on Film Strip before, my grandmother really introduced me to like mysteries and thrillers and Alfred Hitchcock kind of stuff and all of that. And this was one we saw together on cable or something one time growing up, and I was into it because I at that point had seen James Bond. So Sean Connery, sure, I knew who all these other people were by face, but I didn't know what they were until years later. And then of course when Anthony Perkins shows up, she's like, remember him? That's the guy from Psycho. Because as I've told before, we watched that together too. So I was familiar with this one, but moreover, I'm familiar with the story of it. And I feel like everything we've talked about this month owes itself to this movie in some way.
Sure. There was a lot of overlap going on. And I like that we kind of did this backwards with Knives Out, then Clue, then Murder on the Orient Express.
There's nothing more film strip than that.
There was there was a red herring comment in here that really perked my ears up, and I was like, wait a second.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm backwards.
All those Rian Johnson Knives Out movies owe themselves to this, like in a big way. And I don't even think he like hides that at all. Clue definitely owes itself to this, particularly in aesthetic, and so I think it's fun that we're doing it kind of in reverse. We're going back to maybe the origin of these things, or at least the cinematic origin of this. I feel like ensemble mysteries have always been a thing, but this is one that it's well regarded. It's been done several times. That we were joking on air and off air. Which version of this are we doing again? And we settled on this one, and I'm glad we did because I feel like this is the one that if older cinema fans, and I don't mean in age, like if you like older cinema and stuff, you've probably gone back and seen this, and maybe it's been a while or something. But this feels like some of that like mystery thriller homework. Like people tell you to watch great movies and stuff, and especially ensemble things. And I wanted to ask a question though before we got deeper into it, because we haven't really talked about this on other things, but the three of you have been part of stage productions and stuff. What is it that makes an ensemble movie work? I know how it works on a play and in a musical, but what in your head makes that translation to a movie work? Because that's a different medium. You know, you can edit the hell out of a movie and get performances versus having to do it live.
I think it's a lot of the same things that make it work on stage. You have to have chemistry, and in a major motion picture, you have casting agents, and their entire job is to make sure that the people cast look good and work well together. So chemistry has to be, I think I would put that at the top of my list.
I would say probably following that, rehearsals.
Mm,
Do all the work before you get it on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I
yeah.
also feel like it's a lot easier when you have a like a big director like a Sidney Lumet or a guy with clout uh
Mm,
like Ryan Johnson, or in the case of Clue, you had a bunch of people who had like familiarity with like stage work and stuff, and who had done other ensemble comedies and came from like a comedy type background. So I feel like that also really helped.
Yeah, and with Clue especially, and with this one, Murder on the Orient Express, they're well, all the movies we've talked about this month, timing
mm,
is essential. The way that, and I think this goes back to Ron, what you just mentioned. I think the rehearsals leading up to it are just as important in a film as they would be in a theatrical production, because you have to get that timing down for it to work. And I mean, with a movie, I guess, yeah, you can take as many takes as you need to get it just right. But
But
I think
I
that's a
think
big
there's
one.
something about a dialogue heavy movie that if you have too many
Hmm.
cut together takes, there's variance between them,
Yeah.
even the best actors, right? And so I think that you're both onto something. I feel like Sidney Lumet would have been the kind of director that would have rehearsed the heck out of these people and table read them together and all that stuff to get the right mix of people in the room. They talk about it in the original 12 Angry Men, like how much they rehearsed all of that because it's just dialogue in that one room. They're just back and forth all day and getting the timing down right because in natural conversation you do step on each other's words and you have all of that back and forth and that it's hard to pull that off without it seeming forced. And so it's either the work of a great editor or a lot of great pre-production that pulls it off, I think.
And I
I
mean,
think
it helps that um, it helps that like in this case, Albert Finney, who does has like what
Mm,
feels like a 30-minute monologue at the end of this movie, is like a Royal Academy trained Shakespearean actor.
hmm Yeah, that's one of those things that each of these movies have had is there's been someone who's had a big monologue in it. Like we started off with Daniel Craig doing one. His kind of happens almost in the middle of the Glass Onion movie. It's usually at
Hmm.
the end of it, but he did it in the middle. And then, of course, y'all talked about the tour de force that was Tim Curry for the last third of that movie. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
him reciting the movie to everybody and reenacting it. And then this one, like you say, you got Albert Finney that does this whole, one man show at the end. So,
I think that the both Lindsay and Ron bring up a very good point. I think that these are both very important aspects, especially for a movie like this. But something I think that we kind of talked about, especially with Clue, is that each of these characters are very interesting people.
hmm
There's a very interesting dynamic. They're fleshed out for this reason. And I think in this movie, um, Poirot's friend is like, it's this person. It makes
hmm
absolute sense that it's them. Oh no, it's this person. So you can see that each of these characters are very intricate individuals, and you can kind of see even at the beginning that these are somebody that you could consider to be the killer.
mm
And I think that both Lindsay and Ron brought this up perfectly is that rehearsals, and they flesh these characters out before they even went on screen. And I think for a film like this, and as somebody who's read the book, this is something that's very important.
It helps too having a book that had been around for nearly 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
So there's tons of not only publications of it, but there's a lot of writing about it. There's lots of people that have talked about it. Probably half the cast had grown up reading it at some point, and so there's a lot of familiarity with the source material. And then it's what do you bring to it that will, make it fun and unique and all that stuff.
Ryan, do you think you got more out of the movie having read the source material than you would have if you didn't? Because I felt like I was missing some pieces as I was watching the movie. I feel like if I had read it first, I would have, I don't know, I would have followed along a little better.
So, as somebody who read this, this back when she was okay, so I'm probably going to age myself. I'm 37. I think I read that book when I was like 10.
Okay,
Um,
well,
was
I guess then with the caveat of from what you remember of
no,
reading
no,
the
no, no.
book.
No, but I am going to throw that out there. It's been a while since I've actually reread it. There are definitely pieces that I think if you are someone who has read the book, you will catch. But I did actually kind of enjoy watching this film from a standpoint of it's been a while and it kind of felt fresh, especially because the opening of the movie is not a part of the book series. So it did kind of put me like in this different standpoint of, oh, who
Yeah.
is it? It's not like I've read the book, who done it? Like it's
Mm.
changed. Um, but it does give it kind of like a fun little not I guess a spin on it, which was kind of interesting. And as somebody, yes, who has read the book, I think whether you've done that or haven't, it does kind of add this fun little twist to it that I appreciated.
Clue, the board game, was directly inspired by Agatha Christie. Um,
Okay.
Oh,
and also during World War II, which is the time that Clue was brought up, rich people were having. Funny enough, that rich people were having glass onion style murder mystery parties at their houses
Mhm.
because it was the war and you couldn't do anything else for fun. So everybody was getting together in their houses. They would have musicians play, um,
Nice.
and they would play elaborate murder mystery games. And so one of the musicians who attended this party with those kind of parties was uh, also the guy who came up with the idea for the Clue game based off of those and also based off of the insanely popular Agatha Christie mysteries that were coming out at that same time. So,
Okay.
yes, this is literally the DNA of Clue and also the DNA of Glass Onion, which is incredibly funny to tie it back to rich assholes having uh,
they
murder
had a
parties.
baby. They had a
Having murder pop parties.
Yes, exactly. Murder parties where maybe there was real murder. Who knows? So, but
We're
that's a
not going to worry about it. We weren't
that
there.
that's a different episode of the Purge series, I imagine. But maybe another day.
That would be
Um,
Sophisticated
a
purge.
great one.
That's the fourth one, right?
probably. I don't. Yeah, it's been a while
But
since I
So full
revisited. But
circle.
yeah,
funny enough, there is the Purge TV series does have people having a big elaborate
you're
Purge
right.
party.
Yes, yes, they do.
What
So,
about the TV series?
yeah.
It was good. I like the TV series. I'll
Mhm.
still defend it.
Yep. Well, speaking of defense, I need you to go to your fence and grab that frozen electrical cord you got
Oh
and
my
pl
God.
plug it in the wall and fire up that Ronco electric plot processor and tell us what 1974 version of Murder on the Orient Express is all about, Ron.
Well, Jay, we said it and forget it. It's
Wow.
1935, and the world is on the cusp of war. But that doesn't really matter because a train full of well-off maniacs has stalled on a mountain pass, and there's been a murder. Thankfully, the world-famous detective Hercule Poirot is on the case. Initially, Poirot has a run-in with the wealthy Ratchet, who asks Poirot to be his bodyguard because of multiple death threats. Poirot declines because he's not broke and he's not bored like a certain Detective Foghorn Leghorn we've also talked about this episode. Unfortunately, while traveling through Hungary and the mountains, the train stalls out due to snow, and after some suspect moaning and groaning in the middle of the night, Ratchet is found dead as Mr. Body, drugged and stabbed 12 times in the middle of the night. Now we're talking. Poirot immediately jumps on the case, sussing out that the dead Ratchet is actually the Italian-American gangster Lanfranco Cassetti, who carried out the famous Lindbergh baby kidnapping. I mean, the famous Armstrong baby kidnapping, which is exactly like the Lindbergh baby kidnapping with all the serial numbers filed off. Apparently, Poirot likes murder, but he doesn't really care that much about copyright infringement, or I guess in this case, life rights infringement. Anyway, doesn't matter. Cassetti betrayed his accomplice and escaped the country, leading to the death of both Mrs. Armstrong, who died from a miscarriage as resulting from the sadness over the death of baby Daisy, and Colonel Armstrong, who took the express checkout lane to hell. So people aren't really that upset that Cassetti died, but none of these people wants to be blamed for the murder either. Hugh Poirot, in the most insane Belgian accent ever, poking around the backstories of all the passengers, starting with the socialite Mrs. Hubbard, who found a button from a wagon-lit uniform and a bloody knife in her makeup kit. Foscarelli, the car dealer, knows that Cassetti was a mobster and suggests mafia feud. McQueen is the son of the DA from the kidnapping case. Beddoes is a former British Army Batman. Olsen has been to America and knew of the case because she was there at the time. The Countess's real name is Grunwald, aka Greenwood. The Colonel Arbuthnot and his lovely girlfriend are hiding a scandalous 1930s style divorce in process for the general public, as well as their ongoing affair. The Russian Dowager Princess was the dead Sonia Armstrong's grand godmother. And it turns out everyone in this case, everyone on the train has some sort of potential connection to the Armstrong case. And they all have very good reasons to have killed Ratchet or to at least aid in the cover up of Ratchet's death. So it's up to Poirot to figure out exactly what happened after a series of long ass interrogations of everyone that has ever stepped foot on the friggin' Orient Express. Then, after those scenes, which are very good, at the end of the movie, Poirot drags everyone to the dining car. He seats them in the order he wants, which sounds really familiar. And then he goes down the list, starting with the idea that a mafia hitman got on the stalled train, put on a stolen uniform, and skulked in a Ratchet's compartment. Of course, we all know that's not what happened. So let's go down the list. The Countess, Elena, is actually Helena, Sonia Armstrong's younger sister. Debenham was their secretary. Beddoes was their butler. Olsen was baby Daisy's nanny. Arbuthnot was Colonel Armstrong's best friend. Foscarelli was their driver. Pierre was the father of Paulette the nanny who was blamed for the kidnapping, and Hardman was the man in love with her. And Hubbard, she's Linda Arden, the mother of both Sonia and Helena, who organized the elaborate revenge plot and cast the first stab into the corpse of Ratchet. Poirot has cracked the case. Of course, the Hungarian police don't really want to charge 12 people with one murder because that would be a lot. And honestly, Cassetti deserved to get his shit pushed in via blade, so Poirot suggests an alternate theory. A wizard did it. I mean, a mobster did it. Snuck on the plane, snuck on the train, stole the uniform, stabbed the guy 12 times, and then left. And all of those people are just, kind of blamelessly wrapped up into this, and it's a real big coincidence that they're there when their arch nemesis gets stabbed. Pretty funny how that works, right? Anyway,
Crazy.
everybody votes. They all like that idea where they don't go to jail. A snowdrift appeared, and Poirot struggles with his conscience, letting 12 murderers go free as credits roll.
Well done, well done, well done.
Yeah, don't call it a comeback.
The amount of dun dun duns I wanted to throw in there.
Oh, I know. I had a
Beautiful.
soundtrack in my head the whole time. So
Thanks, everybody.
let me
Beautiful.
start with the setup on this and things, and particularly I don't want to call it the framing story, but like the excuse that they give this to do the ripoff of the Lindbergh baby kidnapping. How did y'all like that as far as like an introduction to all of this stuff? I kind of thought it was neat. I mean, that was the first thing I thought of. I was like, oh, it's the Lindbergh baby thing, only to find out that that's exactly what Agatha Christie was referencing when she wrote it.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked the whole opening sequence worked really well for me. And this is the first time I've ever seen this. So
Mm.
I probably should have watched it twice. Like I said, there was a lot coming at me that I wasn't ready for. But
I mean, it
it
does
worked for
throw a
me.
lot at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like at the very beginning. I think anybody who is somebody who likes murder mysteries in general
Mhm.
is just gonna pick up every little bit. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of why can't we see these people's faces? And there's a lot of that, which
Yeah.
I it's up to you whether or not that kind of changes your opinion as to who quote unquote is the killer or not. Because again, like I said, you don't see anybody's faces in that opening sequence. And in regards to Limburg Baby, I actually didn't know that that was what this was in reference to. It does make a lot of sense, but I didn't mind it at all. It's I thought it was a very interesting kind of way to go about it.
I think it's a good excuse. Like you want to have a reason why, like if this person's not done enough bad things or whatever, let's give them like the ultimate
Hmm.
reason that they were involved in this toddler's
Hmm.
kidnap and death and like all the death that it wrought. You went
Yeah.
through it, Ron, like the mom died in childbirth because she wasn't really physically well, and then the father killed himself, and then even the maid killed herself because they thought she was going to, be fingered for it, even though she didn't have anything to do with it, and the authorities knew that. Like I dug that as I say it's not really right to say it a framing device, but like an inciting incident or idea,
Hmm.
because then we're going to
Yeah.
detour off of that for a long time before we get
They
to
brought it
anything.
up like two, three times or something like that.
Hmm.
So it was like, if you really,
Hmm.
really wanted to hate this man,
Hmm.
this is why.
Yeah, yeah. They definitely gave you plenty of reasons to hate him.
Hmm.
So before they spend a lot of time getting Perot on the train, and all of this, and this guy that wants his protection, and
Poirot.
yeah,
Jake.
Well,
Poirot.
Poirot. I can't.
well,
I'm going to screw this up all night. So Albert Finney. So then
that
he
guy,
gets up.
that
Yeah,
dude.
the mustache
Ross
man.
Perot. Yeah.
Yeah, there
Uh-huh.
we
Yeah.
go. I'm from the South. I don't speak Bulgarian, Hungarian, whatever the fuck this is. But but yeah.
So it was just so funny because I have never really watched a Hercule Poirot film at all. And my I didn't know this, but and I brought this up in Clue. Murder by Death is based like kind of spoofs on
Yeah.
all major murder mystery authors.
Yes.
And James Coco, I think is his name, who plays Monsieur Perrier, which is a joke on him. When
I
I watched this, I was just
mm,
giggling because I went, he
but
did such a great job of capturing this
mhm.
actor being
Well, my frame of reference for
hard.
this is Clouseau from Pink Panther and
That's
Blank
it.
Everything
Mm.
Speaks
Thought
Up
Yeah.
and
about,
stuff.
Yep.
yeah. So,
So
yeah.
Jacques Clouseau, like
Mhm.
and not the shitty Steve Martin remix. Sorry, Steve. But yeah, there's only one. But yeah, that is some. I mean, they all feel like they're tied in the same universe. Like Perrault,
Mhm.
um, Clouseau, and some of these others could all go to dinner together. Um,
Seriously, the food looked amazing on this film. I was
it
hungry.
did. That was
Hmm.
yeah. There was quite a spread on the Orient Express, no doubt. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, and everyone's
Even
having
before
like
that.
champagne and brandy and
Yeah.
cognac, and
Well, yeah,
Hmm.
Poirot
there's
drinks
like
absinthe at some point.
there's
Yeah, he
there's
Yes.
does.
like there's an emphasis in this movie on like class and manners and all of this
Mhm.
stuff that they like lay on thick before we ever get to the mystery,
Yeah.
and things like that. And I think it's interesting that Perot like is in that world because he investigates things, but he's not of it necessarily, right?
Mm.
And I sort of liked that they with shorthand played that for us, that he knows how to operate in this world, but he himself is not. I wouldn't say he's poor or anything, but he's definitely not in the class of some of these folks.
He's very well off because of reward money from previous cases.
Okay.
However, he is certainly making no effort to stay in fashion or to comport with the wealthy
Yeah.
because, as stated in my plot description, he is very much a weird dude. And I know that like the Kenneth Branagh version and several of the other versions of this Poirot, when people play the character, they really amp up the obsessive compulsive stuff that would be
Hmm.
stolen to make Monk on
Yeah.
the famous
USA.
Monk TV
Hmm.
show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Tony Shalhoub. Yeah.
And
So,
interestingly enough, Jay, not related to our discussion, but just a fun factoid I'd like to throw out. So the book came out in 1934.
Mhm.
The Lindbergh baby kidnapping was 1932, which, considering the fact that things were much slower back in these days, this is practically a Lifetime
Like
movie ripped from
ripped
the
from the
headline
headlines.
stories.
Yes.
Like
That's a
this should be
great point.
the
like this should be
original
unauthorized. The
Lifetime.
Lindbergh baby.
It should be. It should be. We
The
should resurrect
OG Lifetime
unauthorized.
film, the OGL.
Mhm.
Oh, memories of unauthorized. Oh well.
Oh my God.
But yeah, film strip days of yore. But no, I do like this though. And what do y'all make of the fact that Poirot like instinctively rejects Ratchet's request for protection? Like, what is it about him that he doesn't like, you think?
Well, if
I
he's
don't.
a very
Sorry,
good
go ahead, Lindsay.
detective,
Hmm.
sure. If he's as good of a detective as he's been introduced to us as being, then I'm sure he's very good at reading people.
Mm.
And my guess is that very simplistically, he just doesn't like the guy. He gets the ick
Hmm.
from,
As the kids would say. There you
from
go.
Ratchet.
Ratchet gives him the ick.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
That's,
he does.
I feel like we're mixing slang from a couple of generations for sure.
I mean, but I think that I mean he brings it up when Ratchet comes to him. He's like, I only take on interesting cases. And I
Hmm.
think at this point, whether you read the books or you kind of get this vibe from him from the movies, especially when you even look at the actors that are kind of being presented, you get this idea that he only deals with really high-end, intriguing, sophisticated cases. He's like, oh,
Hmm.
you're getting death threats. Okay. And then they go through a tunnel and then the guy is gone and he's like, and that's when I think it gets intriguing for him, but not enough until after he's dead. I think he's
Right.
I think that he's probably it and the vibe that is coming off from people who talk to him is that he takes on very unique cases.
Hmm.
And so I think for him he's just looking at this guy going, "Oh, you hear my name, you want a bodyguard. I don't really provide that.
Hmm.
I can't
Yeah,
I'm not gonna do this for you."
Mhm.
I felt like in a different universe he would have said like, "I'll come and investigate your murder after it happens, but I'm not really interested in hanging out with you while people attempt to kill you." Yeah.
I
So.
don't want to say like if you looked at it from a standpoint of it's like a very popular influencer or somebody like that's in the spotlight on a constant basis. Or like
Hmm.
your script is not interesting to me or your story doesn't appeal to me. That's not what
Right.
I'm looking for right now. And even he
Right.
admit on even he admits he asked me for help and I said no. And probably I could have saved him. He does make like a kind of like offhanded comment about that.
Mhm.
No, that's a good point. And it leads us though to the cool setting of this idea of the snowbound train that they've got to push the snow out of the way and everything like that. I
You're train all
really,
over again.
yeah, right. Yeah. I liked that though as a setting. I feel like all mysteries have to have a place where everybody gets locked in together, right?
Mhm.
Glass Onion, it was the remote island, right? And
Mhm.
Edward Norton's pad. And Clue, it was the mansion, So we
Right.
knew that was going to be part of it. So this one being that made a lot of sense. Like I don't know, I got a kick out of it.
I like the setting too because it feels so tight. It's
Right.
so enclosed. Everyone's in these tiny little train compartments, and
Mhm.
even the first class train compartments are very small.
It also
So,
kind of
yeah.
works from like a writer standpoint is that it's this very close space. It can't go outside of this box that they have created. And in this case, it's a train. So the clues can't be, you know, 5 miles down the road. And but it also is also something that kind of pushes the plot along is that they're kind of stuck and a murder happens,
Hmm.
but the police are going to show up soon and they're going to have to give a report on what's happening.
Right. And I think one of the interesting twists of this is when the victim is not someone likable at all. Like the
Hmm.
idea of having the unpleasant victim and how that shapes everybody's reaction to the death. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, ultimately the excuse is like, man, he had it coming and he had it either coming from one direction or 12 other ones, and so but I think that's an interesting device because what it does for, as an audience member, at least for me, I was not concerned about, and I was able to give myself over to the fun of the mystery without being concerned about oh, this person lost their life and, maybe they didn't deserve that and all that stuff. And when it's like, no, this is pretty much the scum of the earth. Like, yeah, he pretty well had it coming
I,
one way or the other.
yeah, I mean, it's like, oh, this guy's dead. Oh, well, sucks to suck. And the
Yeah, it's like
question
Mr.
is that
Yeah.
everybody has a reason to kill him. So the question is, I think, and I think you pointed that out perfectly, is this it becomes something as somebody who wants to be like, oh, who do we think did it? It's like the fun of it at that point, which sounds a bit macabre, but yeah.
No, I mean there's something to say for just letting the thing be fun,
Hmm.
Yeah.
And also it also kind of helps to establish that whatever motivations we think Poirot might have for doing things, we are probably wrong about them.
I mean,
Fair.
like literally a child died. I remember when I was in cinema class, there was a silent film that we had to watch, and uh, there wasn't much you could do. But this guy he was kind of dancing around with a dog, but the implication was is that he was hurting the dog, and the idea was if you hurt animals or you hurt children, you are the absolute scum of the universe. And they kind of
Mhm.
threw that out there at the beginning. And then Poirot like gives the idea of, oh, he didn't just kill one person. He killed an unborn baby and a mother and a father and a maid. And it kind of gives you a grander like idea of who could be the killer, especially during the interrogation scenes.
Well, I mean, and that's the thread that links all these three movies, among other things, together, is that the person at the center of it is incredibly unlikable. Miles Braun's unlikable, as in Glass Onion. Mr. Body is blackmailing
Hmm.
everyone, even though he's the charismatic Tim Curry. He's still
Hmm.
blackmailing everyone. And then you have this mobster who caused the death of a toddler that inadvertently caused the death of like four other people,
Hmm.
and ruined their lives, and this whole scandal. There's no sympathy lost. Well, okay, to quote the musical, no one mourns the wicked, and so,
Okay,
and
you brought this up twice. Are we gonna have to watch Wick? Are we gonna have to do a review?
Anthony would love that, but I don't think we're gonna do that.
We could do it. Lindsay.
But go
I
for
don't
it.
know.
But
I would
point,
do it for you guys, but
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
the
but
only
but
reason.
but the point remains is that that's the idea. It's like, well, we don't care that this person's dead. It's not, but it is against the law. The law. as it were. I was to my Clouseau there,
Mhm.
and
Again, for
and we
aesthetic.
and Poirot stands for like order, like and all this stuff. And you talked about it, Ron, like that his kind of obsessive compulsive nature and things like that. It's got to be in order. He's got to get to the bottom of it. He's like a bulldog when he clamps on. He's like, I'm gonna get this thing. I'm not gonna let it go. And I don't know. I like that as the conceit that we have this person that we don't like who's killed, but we still want to know why. And
Mhm.
we know how. You get stabbed a bunch of times. Like they don't spend a lot of time talking about the goriness of it, but they do spend a lot of time emphasizing the inconsistency of the wounds,
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
any good police person, or if you've watched any true crime, will tell you that means there's either more than one murder weapon or more than one person doing it, because
Mhm.
that's how you get inconsistency in wounds. Scream taught us that.
Or
Hey,
overkill.
I heard you talking about the law, and I thought you wanted me to show
My
up for the
God.
podcast, but
Hello.
uh,
Hello.
I
I,
am the law. Like in my
Are you
movie
the one?
Judge Dredd. Uh,
uh,
sorry, Jay.
I,
We done that movie
I gotta
yet?
go.
I,
I gotta go back to Oklahoma now and do some more of
Oh,
that show that everybody loves.
the Tulsa King, yeah.
Tulsa King. Yeah,
That-
everybody likes it. Special shout out to my friend, the professional wrestler Cash Flow from Bullitt County, Kentucky. He showed up. He played a big dude because he's a big dude. Anyway,
you
have
and I
fun
are
with your
thinking of
parrot
two
movie.
different movies, and I'm here for it.
thanks for coming by, Sly. That's
Yeah,
always good.
it's always good to show up. People are happy when I appear.
Oh, that was totally worth it.
Forward to
Um,
your thing whenever we
uh,
bring up the law.
and no, we have not done Judge Dredd, and I will unironically love that movie.
I thank you for
I love
appreciating that
Judge
I
Dredd.
went hello,
I
Yeah,
love both Judge Dredd movies.
yeah. The
as you
the
should.
the
They're
remake
great
one's good
films.
too. They are what they are. They're very big pieces of popcorn fun, But another day
Also,
on
I love
films.
Demolition Man, and I
Oh
Yes.
wish there
well, we
was
have
like a
done
Oh,
we
that's
have
a
done
great
Demolition Man. We
film.
have done Demolition Man.
yeah, but I wish there was like a remake of Demolition Man 2, possibly
Yeah,
also starring Carl Urban
that
Oh,
would be
okay.
cool.
Oh,
and Wesley
I love
Snipes
Carl
playing
Urban.
Simon Phoenix again because screw it, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And we have a He-Man remake coming out in
Hey,
2026,
I'm
and I
actually
love the first one.
I'm actually kind
So
of jazzed about that. And if you want to sometime talk about that first one and explain to me what it was I watched when I watched it today, I'll be glad to hear that
I
conversation
love the
because
original He-Man. So
I
I have to
hated
do that one. Yes. Actually, I was having this conversation with my parents, being like,
uh,
"This
if
is
it
this."
yeah, if anybody's clocking my letterbox, I haven't been on a high rating scale recently on a
Oh,
lot of things. But
but but
anyway, but the idea here is that you've got the unpleasant victim, you've got the inconsistency in the wounds, and all the planted clues. Start playing with a lot of fun because part of the fun of a who done it right is getting the audience involved in the process. Like
mhm.
you have to draw
Mhm.
us in and try to figure it out, right? Even if you're just one of those go along for the ride kind of people, or if you're I must know it, kind of thing. I want to get in front of the movie. I found that all to be very engaging, and I felt like I needed the notebook to keep up with what was happening. I felt like I needed the board game clue to be able to play along to figure out what was going on. Because you talk about those interviews, they're all the same, except every actor gives a different version of the same lie, which is awesome. Like that's what's so much fun about it, is that they've
Mhm.
all conspired to lie about it in a different way. And it's funny to go from each of the different ones and see how that they play it.
It's never the person they make out to be the person that looks the most guilty.
Yeah.
That I
Yeah.
am always sure of.
Actually
And it's also
disagree.
oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Ron. And then I'll bring up why I disagree. But
Oh, because I'm interested to hear that. But I think the thing I like most about the interrogation scenes in this movie, we got to watch all these different disparate actors, like each with a different style. You got Sean Connery, the big, you know, uh, I'm a colonel in the Indian Army or whatever. You got Sean Connery doing Sean Connery things, but then you've got this great, anxious, wiry um, Anthony Perkins performance. Like he's always so great at being like the most anxious looking dude in the room, even when
Hmm.
he's trying to be like cool, calm, and collected. Um, and then of course bouncing off the Russian princess in one of the funniest scenes in the movie where uh Biaggi, I think his name's Biaggi, the guy from the train company, is like just standing there in the background holding those two little dogs.
Yes.
That was so funny.
And it's just and they're all bouncing off this incredibly mannered, like very specific Albert Albert Finney performance that is
Yeah.
really exceptional, and like he was so good in this movie that it basically screwed up the next like 6 years of his career because everybody in America thought he was a weird fat little Belgian man.
Oh.
Oh, I disagree with you, Ron. I like the way that you put that and it made it fun. But Ron, I'm curious to hear as well why you disagree with Lindsay's point that it's never the obvious one.
So and maybe it's because I will not say it's because of the book. Um, Lauren Bacall, incredible actress, but coming in having all of the major components throughout this entire movie, it's just so I think that everybody like has a very subtle nuance to every single interview that they have. And then Lauren Bacall comes in and yes, her character is supposed to be kind of like loud and boisterous, but she's so different, I feel like, from most of the other actors in this film that you cannot help but notice her. And I I was like, I'm down for it the first or second time. And then we get further into it, and she brings out a bloody knife. And for me, I just cannot help but stare at her longer, going, okay, a man showed up in your compartment. Cool. Okay, you're really feeding into this. I'm going to stand out here while you're having this interview with a bloody knife. And when you get to that kind of like when she has her kind of reveal, I went, of course you are. It's not surprising. I felt that every other actor had this very kind of like, oh yeah, I'm here conveniently with Sean Connery. Yeah, I was kind of macking on him on the boat, and I had this like, we'll talk about it when it's over sort of thing. And then we have the Norman Bates. No, I loved her. I totally respected her.
We all
You
go a
know,
little mad on the train sometimes.
yeah. I just I just felt that she was so different in comparison to everybody else that I could not help but staring at her.
Lauren Bacall carries herself in a way that draws attention to her, and part of that is the way Lumet shoots her scenes too. But she just has like a magnetic presence. Everything I've ever seen her in, I felt like that. Even when she's like a bit part in something like Misery, she's just the
Yeah.
agent in the office. Like you're just drawn to her. It's the voice, it's the way she stands and carries herself. She's got presence, and I think that's the smart thing is that Lumet is doing all of the interrogation scenes where he's using a lot of close-ups and a lot of long takes and a lot of tracking and all that stuff to draw you in to try to get you to bring your own conclusions when the truth of the matter is like the answer is right in front of you, right? Like it's there. And I wanted to ask y'all this, like, is it a cheat that they all did it? Like, 'cause Lindsay, this is your first experience with this whole thing, right? So how did you feel about that?
I thought it was interesting. It was unexpected up to that point. I was still playing the game of who do I think was solely responsible for it. So it it got me. I genuinely did not expect that ending. So that works for me. I always like to be surprised, especially in a mystery like this. I enjoy being had essentially. And I just thought it was really unique for me. I guess not that unique because the book was written in 1934 and I probably should have known the ending, but I didn't. So I thought it was fun. And I like how it ended up with everyone voting to, just let him walk, basically. I thought that was fun.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, yeah, I want to
And
come
it's
back to that,
interesting,
but yeah.
and it's interesting because this is like one of the early cases of, you know how the setup to every, like, I know what you did last summer. They're
Hmm.
like, oh, we all ran over that fisherman, or
Hmm.
well, every one of those movies where like somebody dies and comes back to take revenge. It's like, oh, we all, you know, conspired to cover up the fact that Tiffany died in the trunk because
You,
of a sorority
you,
prank or whatever.
you all let Jason drown. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And and now it's like, well, and we can actually see at the end of the movie when they show everybody doing their stabbity stab, how some people were into it, and then some people were like, I better do this or they'll stab me next, kind of
Right.
deal. And I
Yeah.
thought
Like,
that
Yeah.
was a very interesting take on the thing. And you
yeah.
can
Yeah.
also kind of see that come through um, in retrospect when you watch the the characters try to spin their lives for Poirot. Some are
Mhm.
more committed to the lie than others,
Mhm.
and some crack much easier than others.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting thing to watch, especially if you once you've seen the ending of this. Like I'm gonna go actually probably go back in a couple of days and watch it again just to see like if the trepidation at the stabbing shows up through as like heavier guilt in the performances of the actors, like in the
Oh
beginning of the
yeah.
movie.
You know what? That would be a fun exercise. That sounds like something Steven Soderbergh would do, where like he puts their interrogation next to when they're actually stabbing the guy.
Mhm.
You can see if it
Yeah.
matches. I bet you it matches. I bet you
Do
it
you
does.
think horror movies are based off of films like this where everyone had something to do with it and somebody went, I'm gonna create the best revenge story ever? And then
Maybe.
you get like
Mhm.
Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers and things like that. I'm just curious
I
because,
mean, let's look at the father of the mystery story, Edgar Allan Poe. What's the
mm,
other genre he really excelled at? Horror.
yep.
Like there is definitely a shared DNA connection going back to the very first detective stories where they're playing in the macabre in a way
Mhm.
that I feel like both parties don't want you to think about. The both the mystery parties and the horror parties don't want you to think about how closely related they are because they're trying really hard to make horror its own thing when literally most horror movies are like, who's killing the nursing students? It's Ted Bundy, haha. Or,
Yeah.
who's the hill and mystery stories are like, well, who's the seven deadly sins killer? Huh, it's Kevin Spacey.
Well,
That kind of thing. Uh,
Spoilers.
some of them do. Like some slashers do, some don't. Like you always know Michael Myers and Freddy are the killers in
Right.
Halloween and then Nightmare on Elm Street. You don't know who the killer is in the first Friday the 13th. They do play that as a mystery,
Right.
but you know it's Jason from there on out. The Scream movies are
I was
all built on
just
it.
about
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
mention the
mhm.
Scream
Right.
Yeah,
movies.
they are all built on the who done it and
And
who
that's who I
didn't
was
do it.
thinking of, like the Scream
Yeah.
movies and like the
Mhm.
Giallo movies that clearly inspired
Yes.
Scream.
Yeah,
Right.
Giallo movies, even something like Stage Fright is sort of built off of that.
Oh,
And
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
yeah, that's on that one. Yeah, there's a lot of and there's a subsection of horror movies that are built on that. Heck, the original Psycho is built on that. You think there is a mother until
Mhm.
Yeah.
you realize that there is, but there isn't, like you get the
Yeah.
twist. Like I like that kind of Alfred Hitchcock, Edgar Allan Poe, like you said, Ron.
Hmm.
All that part of it weaving through this is done well, and you can either lean one way or the other in this kind of movie with that. You either really lean into the macabre part of it, and it almost becomes a little caught in that sauce, or you lean more into the no, we're going to be the point of view of the detectives in this. We're going to be the police, and we're going to see how they go. And I'll give you one that plays both of those is the middle chapters of the Saw movies, 4, 5, and 6, and a
Oh
little bit
yeah.
of 7, where we're dealing with Hoffman, the cop
Mhm.
situation, and you got
Hmm.
the FBI agent and all that stuff. Like and they'll tell you, the guys that created that series, they killed Jigsaw off because they think, hey, we're done after three, and then they realize like, oh no, we're not. We print money off of this. What are we talking about? So they have to come up with convoluted ways to keep him going, and part of it is half of those movies are like the most violent Law and Order episode ever, and the other half is torture porn, and they go or Rube Goldberg, murder, and so they balance those out. But to me, the cop story in the Saw movies, particularly these middle ones, is way more fun to watch. And it's probably because I watch a lot of those Law and Order, police procedural kind of movies, and I like that kind of stuff. I think that's neat, and I like watching Poirot work in this. In all his little quirks and the way he interrogates people and does stuff. You see so many things that are borrowed from pieces of this and then like turned on 11, but the Albert Finney is just tremendous in this. Like, he completely disappears in the role. Like I had to really like stare and look. I'm like, is that really Albert Finney? But it was.
Special shout
Yeah,
out
it's
to him for taking the time when he's getting ready for bed, because I'm just gonna say this. You don't see guys do that often, where they've got the hairnet and the mustache like band and
I didn't
doing the
even know
lotion.
that mustache net was a thing.
I
I
It's
mean,
great.
speak for yourself, Ryan.
no, I can't. I don't have either of those things. No. But I
That's
was just saying that like I really appreciated that, because candidly, you see women do that sort of thing nowadays. You don't see guys, and I kind of like that he was getting ready for bed. Like, he took his time getting ready for bed, and you're picking up on like the gargle
Mhm.
ratchet and his brief conversation, and then his quote unquote conversation, like while he's getting ready for bed. And it's kind of incredible. Like, I think that it's those small moments, as like Jay and Ron have pointed out, is that you don't think Poirot is really listening, but he is, even on the most minute moments, even when he's putting lotion on his hands or curling up in bed or, having oysters with a friend before they even
Mhm.
get on a train.
Well, and that's the thing that I think I've enjoyed about the Knives Out movies is when Benoit tells you how he's got it all. Like, that was, they played it as a joke in Glass Onion, the one we did, where he unraveled the murder party in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, he usually called it child's games, but when you hear him do it, you're like, oh man, this dude is picking up on all kinds of stuff. And what's fun about it is, and this is the filmmaker part of it, and Sidney Lumet does this too. Rian Johnson actually has all that stuff happening. You just didn't notice it, until he calls it out, and you're like, oh yeah, he did switch the glasses and all that stuff. So
Hmm.
I think that's fun, is to watch the detective work, or the detectives work in the story. But in this one in particular, it's tremendous, uh, what he does. So,
Hmm.
um, do y'all think that the shared guilt dilutes responsibility, or does it deepen it? I'm kind of on the mind of the deepen it part, because you have a conspiracy of people. That's a lot of people that are now involved in these things.
Mm.
Hmm. That's a good question because
Yeah.
now not only have you done this heinous act, you're carrying around this secret, and
Yeah,
you also have the secrets of 11 other people that you're responsible for keeping.
right.
Because if it gets out for one of them, it's going to get out for all of them. Because uh, all of these people, except for possibly the mastermind behind it, are going to roll over.
Well, everybody had a reason to want this guy dead,
Hmm.
including the audience in
Yeah.
a lot of ways. So the idea that they would ever turn on one another, I don't know if there's so much a fear of that as much as it can Perot crack one of them against the rest of them, But once he realizes that you all did it, like he knows, then it's a matter
Hmm.
of like, well, how do we want to play it?
I think that, especially, and this is actually my least favorite scene in this entire film, but the stabbing
Mm,
incident, and it's just for me, I thought that the buildup was not, and some of the believability was not that great that being said, there are some characters that very clearly do not want to be a part of this, but they're already a part of it. And
Hmm.
one of the big ones is um, Helena. She did not want to stab him, but her husband kind of forced her to. And I think it is a situation in which they are, whether they stabbed him or not, they're involved in this. It's kind of a Lauren Bacall's character was like, "You're here. I could implicate you whether you stabbed him or not, or if you moved around a
Hmm.
important piece, she could end you." And so I think there is a feeling of, I'm here, might as well just roll with it. But there
Hmm.
is a guilt there too. And the I can't remember her name at the current moment, but the very religious individual. I think that she was
Oh,
another.
Olga.
Yes,
Hmm.
thank you. She was another person that I think that she, for people who have never read the book or was watching the movie for the first time, I feel that she's the character people would be most surprised about being involved in this.
See, this kind of leads back to y'all's last discussion on Clue and the quote, right ending or whatever, or the true ending where everybody was involved in some way or did something.
Hmm.
I mean, that is clearly lifting from this and coming straight from this, where everybody did, like everybody's guilty in some way. So, and whereas that was played for comedy in a lot of ways, this is played much more serious. And Ryan, I want to go back to something you said. If there's one scene I wish wasn't in the movie, it was them showing them all stabbing the
Thank
dude.
you.
I didn't
I
need it. I
I
didn't
hated
need
that
that.
scene.
Yeah, I don't think we needed it, you know?
I wish it was, there was something about how I was watching it and it just didn't read right. I wish, and maybe it's because I I completely believe that there are people that were not fully on board with potentially killing him versus those that really wanted him dead. And
Mm,
I think that it would have read well. I was actually having this conversation with my family, and the music versus how things went, I
mm,
kind of wish that it had read that those that were not completely into it were at the beginning, and then it continued to build up until you got to those that were absolutely like hating this man, and the music got louder and louder and louder. I think that that
Mm.
would have been something truly special, and it did not read that way. And I that is a scene that I wish could have been redone, in all honesty, because of those reasons.
See,
Especially as we've talked about, there are those that are kind of just tied to this and those that are completely involved in this.
right. Like to
And
Ron's point, if it had been done where each of them was just on a close up and you got to see their like acting through it and it matched their connection to it, their
Hmm.
reasoning, the way they
hmm
were interrogated, then it adds weight and gravity to it. But as it is, it's just like a line of murder. It's just everybody's like, it's your turn to stab him
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
You're like
It's
Yeah,
standing
it's a
in line
conga
for the
line of
water
stabbings.
fountain. Yeah.
yeah, it's very it's a lot of conga stabbing line.
And there's
And
also like the sound effect, like when they're stabbing, is
yeah.
not, it sounds like they're stabbing a wooden board, and you can tell it in some moments.
Yeah,
You're
they're
like,
Hmm.
they're missing the
oh,
pumpkin that they had there or whatever.
Yeah, they should be
exactly.
stabbing a ham.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Good, need good ham.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So I
Exactly.
think in the spoof version of this movie, they would all line up like the Rockettes
Yes.
and do synchronized
Well,
stabbing.
how was
airplane when
that
they're
not
slapping
yeah
her.
not part of a Zucker and
I don't
Yeah.
Fred
know.
Hams
Get
That
get
should
on
movie?
be in
that,
the next
Ron.
Naked Gun movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, that would totally work. 1,000%. Okay, so what did y'all make of we've talked about the two things he gives the police, and they decide to go with the unknown assassin theory or whatever. But what did you make of Poirot's silence when the cops say, "Well, obviously it was just some random, mafia killer or whatever." Like you can tell he's conflicted about it, but he's just going with it. Like I don't know, I felt like he was really torn. Like actually, but he just stopped himself from saying anything.
Yeah, I think he has such a compulsion to find the truth
Mm.
that omitting the truth to an authority figure is something that would cause him discomfort. But also, like, as you see him when he's doing the interrogations, he's literally like straight up lying to some of these people.
Hmm.
So I guess it's okay for him to do that to find the to lie
Ah,
in order to find the truth?
Find the
Question
truth.
and
mark.
see,
Yeah.
you brought up a good point though. That's what I was going to say. It's like cops lie all the time in
Yeah,
interrogations. It's part of the interrogation process is to
Hmm.
lie to you about what they know or what they don't know to see what you'll say. They'll tell you that. They-
and of course the character used to be a Belgian police officer who went to England in as a refugee during World War One.
Mhm,
So that's one of the reasons why he's got the limp.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, he's definitely got that law enforcement background. So I imagine, especially I imagine at the turn of like the 19 teens, you could just do whatever the hell you wanted to as a cop, and it didn't really matter because there was nobody who could stop you. So I imagine him lying to people. I imagine him like roughing suspects up when he's a younger, saucier Poirot, but he's got gloves on because he doesn't want to get any on him with the OCD. um, I could see him definitely being. Uh, he might not be the one to rough up the criminals, but he would definitely have other people rough them up for him.
Mhm.
I could see that. Or maybe he did once and now he's living his new money life of luxury and he
Mm.
appreciates the finer things and not having to
Mm.
I don't know, maybe he really likes not having newspaper ink on his hands. He's just appreciating his life as a famous detective.
Do you think the passengers are relieved at the end of this, or are they haunted by it? Does it matter? You know?
Off the music, I would assume, because it was so lighthearted
I was going to
Hmm.
that
say they seem pretty relieved. They're all toasting and
Right.
having themselves a nice little party.
Well, it's the
for
thing of do you feel like your actions were justified or not?
Hmm.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I feel like they would all say, yeah, this is dude was a piece of shit who deserved what he got, and he deserved worse than he got. So he's lucky we just stabbed him 12 times, and you know we didn't
Wow. Y-
run him
You,
over with the train.
And he didn't even feel it because he would have been, I don't know if
he was
that
drugged. Yeah.
elixir, yeah, I don't think the elixir killed him. I think the stab wounds killed him. That was the impression that I got.
No, the
correct.
stab was definitely killed him because the elixir was
Yeah.
just something. The elixir was
But
just his Ambien.
A
yeah,
sedative.
but Hector Anthony Perkins like put some kind of powder into the beverage, like into his sedative before
Yeah,
he drank it.
right. It
So
was
I'm
it was
assuming the powder was just to knock him out further, and then they
Yeah,
stopped
like
it.
an extra. It's like it was
Yeah,
an extra heavy dose
yeah.
because we do talk about how one of them takes whatever the
Oh
precursor to
yeah,
seconol was with the
that's what
powder,
it was. Yeah, the
and
princess.
that's what he
Hmm.
added to the guy's sleeping drink. So instead of one sleeping drink, it was like that time my mom took two Ambien.
And then Tuesday
It just
happened.
and yeah, she literally like took two Ambien and like lost literally 12
What
hours of a day. That
it's
just never happened for her.
what you're unraveling for me here is I realize how many other like mysteries and thrillers have borrowed this idea of like the justifiable killing or whatever. Like if you've ever read the book or seen the Harrison Ford movie Presumed Innocent, which I got to talk about on the Why Wasn't It Better pod with those guys and stuff. Like the big difference in the end of that book and the end of that movie is how it's revealed how it goes down. Like once you know the twist end it, you know it, but it's played differently. But the way the movie plays it, there's a cop that has a line that just says, the lady was bad news, and it's like,
Mm.
oh, I mean, like I'm just hearing that in my head as you're saying these things, like, yeah, no, that's exactly the same motivation here. And that one, everybody's definitely conflicted by it, but in this one, like you say, they're all popping champagne. So. And that did jolt me with the way that music came in. I was like, was not expecting that as our final note tonight.
It was
but
weirdly
okay.
happy.
It was weirdly happy. So, you know,
Yeah.
usually
I don't know. I guess I'd be pretty thrilled if I stabbed a dude and the world's greatest detective was like, he did not do the murder. That's
I think
not.
you got to add this impression to your repertoire. By the way, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, if we ever have a reason for Hercule Poirot to show up, if we do any of the million other movies that they have of that character,
maybe you should show up and do the plus summary for some of the stuff we got coming in February. I don't know. Might be fun.
you know me, Jay. I'll do whatever the hell you want.
There's a mystery in Too Fast, Too Furious. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, the mystery is why did people go see it and it made
The mystery is how did Cole Hauser go from being a Miami drug thug to like the hottest cowboy in the world? So,
And before that, in Dazed and Confused, as just a redheaded bully.
Right. And I think he was
Oh.
no, that's Michael Rappaport. No, Rappaport. Yeah, Rappaport's in that too. I think he may be in. Yeah, he's also in Higher Learning, kind of the forgotten John Singleton, racism in college movie. But yeah,
I kind of like that movie.
I did too. I saw it in theaters, so it definitely mess with you. So, but
I did not, but I watched it a lot in college because HBO was one of the channels we had, and they always had Higher Learning on.
yes, it was a staple of HBO. But before we get off in all of that, I think we're at the part of the podcast where it's time to give final thoughts, recommendations, and popcorn ratings. So, what are y'all's for Murder on the Orient Express? Ryan, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I have a special love for the book, as I pointed out. I do think that this is a pretty true version to the book. Um, that being said, I did feel that there were a couple of moments where they were a little lackluster. I personally was not a fan of how Poirot kind of, at least in the movie version, kind of gave in to everybody being like, "Oh, okay, we're just gonna move on." That being also said, I appreciated every single actor that was in this. So I'm gonna give this a medium popcorn. Butter, but I could have used a little bit more salt.
Lindsay, how about you?
Ryan likes it salty.
I do. Shut up.
All these flavors. You got to be salty.
You got to get some Flavacol, Ryan.
It's Flavacol. Yep.
What
I
does that
still
mean?
have not tried it. No, Flavacol, isn't that the thing, Ron, that you
That's
sprinkle on popcorn, right?
I have a
specific
big
movie
carton of it.
theater.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
the thing that gives movie theater popcorn its taste.
Yeah.
It's a
Oh.
mystery, yellowish, saltish.
It's got a lot of
magical.
Yeah, it's got a lot of specific kind of like mixed with coconut oil and stuff like that. So
Flavacol.
I know way much about how
favorite?
that's made because I've had to make a lot of popcorn in different jobs
Maybe
for
it's
years.
maybe it's the New York version of me, but there was never really any salt on anything. It was just covered in butter.
Perfect.
So, no, it was covered in Flavacol, which you mix with the coconut oil, and it tastes like butter.
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
So here's the thing, Jay.
Mhm.
I have the Flavacol, but I'm not doing the coconut oil. I'm doing ghee.
Okay,
Oh, I love
ghee will
ghee.
work. Ghee will
Ghee is
work
And
as
I'm
well.
melting. I'm putting the Flavacol in with the ghee, and I'm microwaving it, and I
Yeah.
air pop my popcorn.
Yep.
Because I've got the machine, and man, it is just a fabulous treat. It tastes
does
exactly
sound-
right,
That does
but
sound
also
heavenly.
better because it's ghee and not coconut oil.
Yeah, fair.
I think coconut oil's okay. I don't know.
No, I don't hate coconut oil.
Yeah,
I like
no.
coconut oil, but like if I can do actual clarified butter instead of coconut oil, I'm going to do clarified butter because I'm fat as hell.
Anyway, Lindsay, what do you think of the movie?
My God.
I have on this podcast and outside of this podcast in real life given movies a lot of shit for not giving their audience enough credit and enough agency to be able to assume things that are going on. And I would say there were definitely times in this movie while I was watching it where I thought to myself, man, they put way too much, like they are giving me way too much credit for knowing what's going on. This is the opposite problem that I feel like I have with film. So I think it's definitely something I probably should have watched twice before talking about it here, and will need to see again before it really sets in. I think for me, it was just a lot thrown at me with a lot of accents at one time. So Clue is a lot getting thrown at you all at once, but with like a perfect little recap at the end by Tim Curry. So I had some issues with that. Also, I've seen Clue 8 million times. So there's that, you know, Orient Express did not have going for it for me. It was There were some scenes that I think could have been cut. I thought the caricatures were great, but it wasn't my favorite in the series of whodunits that we've done over the last month. So I still liked it. I still think it's deserving of a medium popcorn as well. I'm going to sit with Ryan on this and say medium popcorn. It was a little different though. So maybe I am going to throw some coconut oil on this medium popcorn because it's not my normal jam, but I think it would still be good. So I'm going to give it a solid medium popcorn. I think it
Maybe
deserves
it's like
another viewing.
maybe it's like a kettle corn, Lindsay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Kettle corn has its place. Kettle corn's good, but it's like you have to be in the mood for it. So I would give this a good medium kettle corn.
All right, Ron, what about you?
I'm going to diverge and give it a large popcorn. I can understand that there are flaws with the movie, and I feel like some of that is due to the fact that it's the 70s and we are viewing it through a modern lens. So we have slightly different expectations in the audience at the time
Hmm.
because it was like the mid 70s. It was like, what, 74?
Yeah.
So, by our standards, Jay, 1974 is still the 60s. Um, as we explained through in our Friday
I,
the
I,
13th
I,
series
I
about how
feel
the
like that
70s
really
lasted.
only works with the 80s. Like by 74, we'd established a scene,
Not
but
true, because if you watch things from like 72 or 73 that were set in 72 or 73, they still look like hippies.
okay,
Hmm.
fair point. So,
Like
It
if
had
you
to
watch
become
Mad Men.
it didn't become disco until 1975 ish, and
yeah.
that's when the 70s kind of started. So anyway, not the point. The point is, I'm going to give it a large popcorn. I have a little more leniency towards some of its flaws than I think Ryan and Lindsay do, and I understand that the movie's not perfect, right? The movie has its flaws, and I do feel like it shows you a little bit too much, but also I feel like you get some really good performances, like when they show all the actors like stabbing him. You get to see each actor decide, like, okay, is my character on board with this or not? How mad are they about these deaths, or how mad are they not? Are they here by choice? Are they kind of getting their arms twisted by someone else who's involved in the conspiracy? And it yields some interesting result for me that makes up for the fact that it's kind of on the nose that we're just going to show you everything that happened, right? Um, but I gotta say, one thing we've talked about at length throughout the episode is Albert Finney's performance and how good it is. And he's legit. Like he makes this movie and this weird mannered uh, character of Poirot that he's constructed or that he's pulled from the Agatha Christie and brought into the real world is fascinating. Like we see it with this little mustache guard thing that he wears. We see the fact that he's wearing gloves while he's reading the paper. We see it in the fact that he's drinking absinthe in the club car when everybody else is drinking like something normal. Like this is a weird ass dude who is going to do things his own way. And it's very interesting to see that brought literally to life in the form of this guy. And Finney like is completely dedicated to showing the quirks and the OCD ness and the speckiness of this character and the way he behaves and the way he acts. And it's the fact that like it's the 30s, but he's still got greased down 1920s hair, right? And that had already kind of gone out of fashion by like 1934. He's got this elaborate mustache that had 100% been out of fashion for like 20 years by this point. And he's such a strange bird, and the actor is like, I am not going to be vain about this at all. I'm going to be a weird, ugly little creepy troll man. Like even Agatha Christie at one point described the character as a weird little creep. I don't think she said weird, but it's like a strange little creep. And Albert Finney's like, bet, I got you. I could be the strangest little creep you've ever seen. And he does it. He knocks it out of the park. And you can really see it shine in the interrogation scenes with this character. And when because he's completely like abusing some of these people, like the colonel's girlfriend. He basically like screams at her until the colonel gets so mad he punches the orderly or whatever the word is for um, porter. Sorry, on the train. He's like, I'm gonna scream at this girl until her boyfriend gets so mad he comes running in here ready to throttle me, and then I'm gonna smack him right in the mouth verbally. And he does it. It's crazy. So I'm gonna say large popcorn. It's definitely one I'm gonna go back and rewatch because man, it's such a collection of really strong performances and lots of interesting like interplay between all of these people in this weirdo Poirot. Like I really had a good time with this, and it did not feel like a movie from 1974 to me. What about you, Jay?
All right, look, Murder on the Orient Express absolutely rules because it's basically Among Us luxury edition with fur coats and accents that nobody can get. Everyone's stuck in one
How dare you?
location. The vibe is instantly sus. Every single passenger has a motive and an alibi and a side eye that says absolutely do not trust me. Poirot is running around he is running the cleanest emergency meeting of all time. All right. Slowly realizing the wild twist. It's not anybody hiding in the vents, and it's not Jason in the bushes. It's everyone coordinating the most polite group murder imaginable. The movie works though on every level because of Finney, because it commits hard to the bit. It's a stacked cast, airtight clues, reveal that flips the whole game board, and while suddenly feeling fair though, which is wild to do because normally this kind of thing I would feel like is a big cheat, but here it works. In the end, justice isn't about ejecting the imposter. It's about knowingly letting the whole lobby vote skip and living with it. Zero jump scares, max brain damage, truly a no notes win. This is extra large popcorn for me, y'all.
Nice. Wow.
Wow.
You
No.
know, I've never played Among Us.
It's a
Oh,
great game.
It is a good game.
that
You know,
we'll have to remedy
actually,
that. Yeah,
Poirot is just second imposter, Jay. He's
that's
he's
fair. So if there could have
or
been
third
one,
imposter,
he would.
depending.
Yeah, that could have
What a
worked.
what a breadth of popcorn ratings this round.
Really?
For
Yeah, we usually
real.
don't get this much of a spread,
No, we don't.
but I
I
like it.
love it.
I like it that
Yeah.
we all had fun with it, but saw something different out of it. And that's what makes this fun. It's been a fun January to talk about ensemble mysteries, and we're getting ready to head into February. We're already a month down in 2026. Wow,
Oh my
time
God.
flies, y'all, right? And we're putting together a set of shows that we call terrible or terrific twos. You decide. Revisiting some notable part twos in movie franchises we haven't entirely covered. So we've got some fun guests coming on. So the four movies we're going to do, and not necessarily in this order, but we're going to do Gremlins 2, we're going to do Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo, Grease 2, and the aforementioned Too Fast, Too Furious. Should be some good times. And of course, you can find that on our feed here as we get them knocked down. And of course, you can follow us on social media at FilmstripPod, where we share announcements about upcoming shows. We share announcements about the show that's out. And we also share other fun content from our pod friends out there. Don't forget to subscribe, share the podcast. Make sure you check out our new YouTube channel. Occasionally, we throw the old video up there too. But you can always find our pod there and the entire archive there as well. And bonus points if you leave us a positive review. It helps other people find our podcast and, of course, makes us feel great about ourselves. So until next time, for Ron, Lindsay, and Ryan, I'm Jay. Thank you for listening to Film Strip.
Thank you for listening to Film Strip. You can find more episodes on our website, filmstrippodcast.com. The Film Strip theme music is produced and performed by Frozen Lake 121. All content used or discussed in these podcast episodes is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504, C2, Title 17.